Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm back. Today we are going to go over 2 days of severe weather. Today and tomorrow, nothing really for the day 3 or days 4 through 8, which is good. That's what we want to see. We don't want to see any risk delineations. That's good, because a risk delineation will contribute to another thunderstorm, which could contribute to another tornado, and that's obviously not great. Uh, so today, as you can see on the Storm Prediction Center's main page, we have a slight risk of severe weather extending all the way from, I don't know, kind of like the Dallas-Fort Worth area, almost, maybe a little bit to the east, maybe kind of near the DFW area, all the way through southeast Oklahoma, much of central Arkansas, much of Arkansas, including Little Rock, and then the extreme southern boot heel of Missouri into the Memphis metro and northwestern Louisiana, southwestern Tennessee, the Memphis metro. And then we have two marginal risks. One marginal risk extending from the Mexico border all the way to like near Nashville or something like that. Then we actually have another marginal risk extending from northern and northwestern Pennsylvania all the way up through the Adirondacks and the Catskills, all the way up into upstate New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. They don't usually get severe weather often. Uh, Even if it is marginal, they still rarely get some. So it's pretty rare to see northeastern states under a marginal risk. I shouldn't say pretty rare. It's rare. Yeah. So here's the outlook. For time purposes, because I have a doctor's appointment and I need to hustle, uh, I'm just gonna show you the what everything looks like for this, and then I'll what do you call it? I'll just give you the 20Z update. So first things first, unfortunately, we have a 5% hatched risk of tornadoes. The hatching signifies an intensity parameter. It essentially says that, this kind of threat will have a great intensity to it. I shouldn't say great, but an intensity enough that is considered to be strong and potentially life-threatening. In this case, with tornadoes, hatched SIG 1, conditional intensity group 1, signifies tornadoes that could potentially be of EF2 plus strength. And that goes from southeast Oklahoma all the way to the Memphis metro. And then a 2% tornado risk, unhatched, goes from the DFW to around Nashville. And then another 2% tornado risk extending from, upstate New York all the way up into Maine and the Canadian border, which is, again, rare to see a severe weather risk, especially not necessarily driven by tornadoes, but there is a tornadic drive to the risk up north in the northeastern states. Um, uh, so yeah, it's unfortunate, and 5% signifies a greater likelihood of this potential severe weather. We have a very look at this, a very, 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 very tiny hatched risk of severe weather of wind. It's kind of near the DFW, a little bit, near that metro area. It's a very small portion of the severe weather risk. The small portion is considered severe. We have a broad 15% risk of wind extending from the DFW all the way to the Memphis metro, and then a 5% extending from the Mexico border to near Nashville. And then, in the upstate New York, Northwest Pennsylvania, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine, there's a 5% risk of wind. Then we transition over to a risk of hail. There's a 15% hatched risk extending from the DFW all the way to Little Rock, and then the significant severity the hatching actually stops just outside of Memphis for now, uh, but the 15% risk of hail continues into Memphis. So Memphis, you still may come out scathed instead of unscathed. And then the hatching just goes until the Mexico border, and then the 5% goes from uh, Mexico border to west of Nashville. And then there's a small hail risk, again in the Northeast, from upstate New York to Vermont. And a very small bit of New Hampshire. Yeah, I've been coughing like crazy. It's just allergies. It's all going around. You know, I am an unfortunate victim of it, so I don't feel well. I feel well, just not well. But yeah, so this is tomorrow's risk. Tomorrow, purely is tornado driven. Uh, mean, meaning the driving force is potentially, well, not potentially, but is tornadoes. We have an enhanced risk from Birmingham to Tuscaloosa and central Alabama, all the way to central Mississippi and far northeast Louisiana. And then we have a very broad slight risk extending from the Georgia-South Carolina border all the way westward through the deep south and into eastern Texas. Then we have a broader marginal risk extending from the Mexico border all the way to North Carolina, Tennessee, kind of like the southern parts of the Mid-Atlantic and the southeast. Um, and yeah, so this is tomorrow. Tomorrow's threat, again, like I said, the orange region is purely driven by tornadoes. There's a 10% hatched risk of tornadoes extending from, once again, Birmingham to in central Alabama to central Mississippi to northeast Louisiana. Then a 5% hatched risk extending from western and northwestern Georgia through Alabama, Mississippi, southeastern Little Rock, and northern Louisiana. That hatching goes into southern and central Mississippi and Louisiana. And then the 2% risk unhatched goes from southeast and southern Tennessee to Georgia to Alabama to Mississippi to Arkansas to central and kind of central southwest Louisiana, and then into portions of East Texas. So that's that. EF2 plus tornadoes are predicted, prognosticated to form tomorrow in the Birmingham and Jackson metros. And Shreveport may get in on that action as well, maybe. They're not necessarily in the hatched risk, but they're near it, and so if you're near a risk zone, it could have impact. But yeah, so then we have a 15% risk of wind. The wind won't be an issue. Well, I mean, it may. I shouldn't say that. That sounds very irresponsible. The wind won't necessarily be the biggest threat. There's just a 15%, and this is what's driving the slight risk. The yellow area, this yellow area, is driving this yellow area. Or at least it's in tandem with everything else. Everything drives everything. So if you see an extension to a risk, it's because of something. It's not just any willy-nilly bullcrap. It's because of they did something. They tweaked something. So the wind, it's not going to be the worst thing in the world. There's no hatching delineation yet, so that's obviously great. So from the again the Georgia South Carolina border to East Texas, and then from the Mexico border to the southern Mid-Atlantic, there's going to be a wind risk. 15% in the yellow, 5% in the brown. And then the hail risk is, albeit a bit smaller, but more potent. There is a hatching from the Mississippi-Alabama border all the way down southwest into eastern Texas. with the 15% delineation extending from northwest Alabama all the way into eastern Texas, and then the 5% hail risk goes from the Mexico border and stopping at southern Tennessee. Uh, it's a clean line, just stopping at southern Tennessee. Uh, so Memphis is barely in this, 5% risk of hail, just barely. Yeah, tomorrow could potentially be a tornado day, or at least that's what's prognosticated by the Storm Prediction Center. Um, so let's read the enhanced risk summary. Uh, severe, scattered severe thunderstorms are expected Wednesday afternoon and evening from eastern Texas into the lower Mississippi and Tennessee valleys and the southern Appalachians. Tornadoes appear most likely from Mississippi into Alabama. Corridors of damaging winds may occur from Texas into Georgia. Synopsis. Strong mid to high level winds will intensify across the Mississippi, Ohio, and Tennessee valleys on Wednesday as a positive tilt upper trough moves out of the plains. Mid-level winds up to 50 knots will extend as far south as the Gulf Coast, with 70-plus knots sweeping across the Tennessee Valley to the Appalachians late. At the surface, a cold front will extend from central Texas into northern Mississippi and Alabama by 0Z, or 7 p.m. Central, with a very moist air mass ahead of it. Dew points in the 70s will be common from Texas into Mississippi, with mid-60s into western Georgia by evening. Instability will be greater from Texas into Mississippi during the day, but will develop eastward across Alabama and into western Georgia due to persistent west-southwest winds in the low levels. The expansive area of strong deep layer shear atop the very moist air mass will support scattered to widespread thunderstorms beginning late afternoon and spreading during the evening and overnight hours. Corridors of tornado and wind damage potential appear likely, with hail from Texas into Louisiana and Mississippi. Eastern Texas across much of the southeast. Early day thunderstorms are possible across Tennessee and into northern Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia, possibly elevated due to an east to west outflow. A marginal wind threat cannot be ruled out at that time. Alrighty. The primary severe risk will develop during the late afternoon after 21Z, or like 3 p.m. Central. Yes, it's 21Z. No. 5. Something. I don't know. I don't really know. 4 or 5. I don't know. But 21Z is something. I don't really. My brain's blanking. I apologize. The primary severe risk will develop during the late afternoon after 21Z and into the early evening as instability builds. Supercells may develop along and ahead of the cold front, and this deep, moist layer combined with strong mid to high level flow should support supercell mode with minimal cold downdrafts initially. The severe risk may persist during the evening into Georgia as the southwesterly low-level jet brings instability into that area. Corridors of damaging winds will evolve as well, especially along the cold front later as storms become more numerous. Farther west into Texas, supercells producing hail and locally damaging gusts are likely near the front. So with this wording, this wording is not necessarily terrible. It could be worse for a 10% uh, hatched risk. It really could. So we're lucky, very lucky, that the Storm Prediction Center isn't saying worse things about this risk. So we can only hope and pray that things continue to be that way. So please be prepared tomorrow for tornadoes if tornadoes occur. I'm not saying if, or I'm not saying when, I'm saying if, because that significant underperformance that happened like a week ago or something, where there was a 15% double hatched risk of tornadoes, and there was only like 21 tornado reports. And those are just reports. it was still considered a significant underperformance from what could have happened. And we're very lucky that it was underperformed. Uh, very lucky because many lives could have been lost. Many communities could have been damaged, and this could have been a multi-billion-dollar disaster. Uh, and we're really lucky it's not. We are very lucky. Um, so that's really it. I have nothing else to cover. Please be prepared for tornadoes, especially tomorrow. Not just today, but tomorrow. Please take everything seriously. Do what you need to do, and I will see you on the other side, folks. Have a wonderful day.